What is going on, gamers? Aevatrex here, and today we're going to go ahead and talk about my top 3 things for newer accounts to focus on while you're starting the game. And let's just go ahead and start at the top, what I would consider the very first one, the most important, and that is making sure that you use your shelter. Now, your shelter is a place where you can hide your leader 1, 4, 8, or 12 hours, and essentially if you're attacked by another castle, then they won't be able to actually capture your hero. Now, why is this important? As a new account, you want to make sure that you always have your leader, because once you have your leader, all of your bonuses are applied, whether that's your construction, your talent points, all of that is applied to everything you do. And if you lose your leader, then you lose all of those bonuses until he returns. So in the early stages, when you're going to be constructing a lot, when you're going to be researching a lot, etc., you want to make sure that you have that leader at all times, because if you don't, it's going to be a hindrance to your growth, and you're going to be growing at a much slower rate than if you had your leader. Now, also, as you can tell, there is a 1, 4, 8, and 12 hour option here, but to be honest with you, in my opinion, I would always do the 12 hours, because you can take your hero back at any point. So even if I shelter him for 12 hours right now, I can take him out in an hour, reset it again for another 12 hours, etc., etc. And that's another great tip, by the way. Even if you shelter him for 12 hours, if you're going to be available in 6 hours, when you log in that 6th hour, take him out, shelter him again, and there's another 12 hours. So you can always keep cycling about, and you're gonna make sure that your hero is always with you, which is very, very important early on. Now, speaking about that, my second tip is, especially for newer accounts, is make sure that you have everything going at all times. And what I mean by that is, when you're starting a newer account, a lot of the building times, the research times, etc., they're much lower at lower levels. So we're talking a couple of hours, maybe even a couple of minutes, depending on what it is that you're building or researching. So what you want to make sure is that you always have something constructing, you always have something researching, and that you're always training troops. Now, keep this in mind. If you're going to be going to sleep and you have a construction that's going to be done in maybe 2 or 3 hours, and you're not going to be awake for that, a good tip is just use some speed ups, finish it off right then and there, and start another construction that's going to pass that stage where you're going to be either sleeping or you're going to be busy or away. That way you don't have 4 or 5 hours of nothing going on. So make sure that you have everything going at all times, and if you're gonna be away for a long period of time, make sure that you have that covered. Now, we talked about the importance of the shelter, we talked about the importance of having everything going at all times. Now, the last thing I want to go ahead and emphasize here is your hero chapters. Now, this is super important, because not only as you progress through these are you going to be able to unlock more heroes, which is no secret that heroes in this game are super important and are going to help your growth and your account in general. But the further you go in these hero chapters, the more things are going to be opening up for you, especially when you get over here to Roast Knight, because once you unlock Roast Knight, let me tell you, whether we're talking free to play, pay to play, it doesn't matter. Roast Knight is still one of the top heroes. So one of the early goals that you want is to make sure that you get to this stage and unlock Roast Knight. Now, if you get stuck on specific hero stages, whether it is that you're not doing enough damage, you're not surviving, etc., make sure that you see why it is that you're stuck. And what you can do is you can focus on upgrading the hero that pertains to that, whether you need more damage or your tank needs to survive a little longer, etc. Make sure that you start addressing it by making sure that your heroes have the items equipped that they're needing. So, for instance, let's say you have Roast Knight, but she's going down too early in the stage to continue. One thing that you can start doing is you can start making sure that you equip her with all the items that she needs, and that is going to help you quite a bit. And then once you find a team that really works for you in those hero chapters, try to get as many of these trophies as you can, because it's going to be able to help you along the way, and it's going to help you progress through all of them all the way to the end. So if you are a new player and you start doing these 3 things, you start making sure that you progress as much as possible in your hero chapters, and don't ever, by the way, let your stamina sit at full. Even if you don't have time to go and progress, just sweep some and try to get some items, etc. Just don't get that stamina at full and leave it there. Make sure that you have everything going at all times, and use this shelter to keep your hero, because you do not want your hero to be taken from you. So these 3 things, if you do this as a brand new account or as a newer player, it's going to help your growth be much more productive, and also it's not going to be having you be taking steps back on that. So appreciate you guys for watching. Hopefully you find this helpful, and until later.